Okay.
Good morning, everybody. It's my honor to welcome the elected officials this morning. Our moderator this morning is Jeff Light of the San Diego Union Tribune. Right here. Jeff grew up in New York, where his father was the editor of a local newspaper. And for over 30 years, he's been an editor, reporter, intern, and hopper for various newspapers. I just asked him what hopper was, and he said it's the person who jumps on and off the truck with delivering the papers. Interesting. As a journalist, Jeff was a member of the Pulitzer Prize-winning staff of the UT in 1996. He joined the UT as editor in March of 2010, and he will introduce today's panel. Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, thank you guys, and good morning. I've got a little cold, so if I make even less sense than usual, that's why. And I think, fortunately, our panel's a little smaller this year because the state legislature is still in session. Might also have to do with the election cycle, I'm not really sure. But often this is wall-to-wall elected officials. Today we just have the cream of the crop, so they're going to get a little more chance to talk, and you guys will get a chance to ask questions, more than I think we've seen in the past. So let's just meet our panelists. To my left, Mary Salas, Mayor of Chula Vista. Mary was the first Latina elected to the Chula Vista City Council in 1996, and in 2014 became the first Latina mayor of Chula Vista and the first Latina mayor in the county. Is that correct? Good for you. She served on the Chula Vista City Council, the Sweetwater Authority South Bay Irrigation District, and in the California State Assembly, where she chaired the Committee on Veterans Affairs. She has led efforts for new urban parks to ensure the completion of Olympic Parkway and other major traffic thoroughfares, and played a key role in the planning of East Lake, Otay Ranch, and San Miguel. She has two daughters, Michelle and Sarah, and is the proud grandmother to Michael, Adriana, and Marissa. I don't even know how that's possible.
Way more than possible.
And Mary Salas is a product of our local schools, graduating with honors from San Diego State University. Mary Salas.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then to my right, Yvette Casillas, council member from Tijuana. Councilmember Casillas was elected to the Tijuana Council in December 2016. She has held various government positions, including vice chair of the Tourism Committee with the National Chamber of Commerce in TJ, chair of the Civic Municipal Organizations Council, and chair for 5 years, or president, I think, of the Rotary Club in Tijuana. She's served she has a university degree in business administration from the University Autonomous of Baja California. And recently she has been named, and you're going to hear that she's quite busy, chair of the Tourism, Commerce, and Sister Cities Commission, secretary of the Education, Culture, and Libraries Commission, as well as the Economic Development Commission and the Border Commission, and spokesperson for the Public Safety Commission, the Climate, Sustainability, Development, and Health Commission, the Civic Safety Commission, Government and Legislation Commission, and the Equity and Gender Commission. So all great topics that we can touch on today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, and then to the far left, we have Duque Valderrama. Duque was sworn in to represent National City on the Port Commission in January 2005. He's retired from the construction industry. He was the owner of AD&D Drywall and West Coast Scaffolding, Inc. He has served on numerous public and private boards, including the San Diego County Water Board, San Diego Bowl Game Association, Southwest College Foundation Board, South County Economic Development Committee, and he's been chairman of the National City Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Duque.
Thank you.
Next to Duque, Serge Dedina, mayor of Imperial Beach, has already been gloating with me about his great life in IB. But you'll hear more about that. I'll let him do it. Elected mayor of IB in 2014, he is also executive director and co-founder of Wild Coast, a nonprofit which helps secure tens of millions of dollars to build the new sewage treatment plant along the U.S.-Mexican border. As the father of 2 boys, Serge has worked to make IB a more family-friendly community, involved in the effort to build a community skate park, and provided scholarships for children to attend junior lifeguards. I think you were a lifeguard yourself, if I recall. He's the author of Saving the Gray Whale, Wild Sea, and Surfing the Border, Adventures at the Edge of the Ocean. Serge has a PhD in geography from the University of Texas at Austin, a master's in geography from the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and a BA in political science from UCSD. Welcome, Serge. And then to our right, Ron Morrison, mayor of National City. Ron was elected mayor in November 2006. He served 14 years as a council member in National City. There's like nobody who knows that place like Ron was, and you'll hear in a minute some of the acknowledgments of that. He's a member of the board of directors of SANDAG and the San Diego Water Authority. Because of his governmental activism, National City has been able to bring back many resources through ideas and grants that have increased tenfold since his taking office. And he has been the recipient of numerous civic and humanitarian awards, including recently San Diego County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Lifetime Achievement Award, South County Economic Development Commission Lifetime Achievement Award, National City Chamber of Commerce Lifetime Achievement Award, and the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce's People's Choice Award. So Ron Morrison, welcome. So folks, I think I wanted to start with an issue that I guess is not so much a city or port issue, but one that touches us all, which is this whole climate around the border wall, immigration enforcement, the whole climate, the footing toward Mexico that has changed pretty significantly since I was here last a year ago, right? So how is this playing out in your cities? We're right dependent on each other, and now we find ourselves in this very different climate. What does that mean at the local level? Why don't we start with you, Mary?
Oh, give me the hard question first.
Yeah.
Is this on? Okay. Well, I think first of all we have to state that no matter what happens on the political level, on the federal level, that our relationships with our border cities, with Mexico, remains very, very strong here in San Diego County, because we recognize that we are tied together so many ways, culturally, economically, and environmentally. And so I think that really as the leadership goes in San Diego County is that we will continue to cooperate with our neighbors to the south. And it's my hope that, I've seen changes in administration before where you've had hardline anti-Mexico administrations in the past before. And then the pendulum will swing.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that it will swing. And I don't think that this administration is indicative of where our future relationships will be with Mexico, hopefully. I hope we can ride out the storm. What's happening locally, though, is that because of all the terrible negative rhetoric, and especially targeted at our immigrant population, we're seeing a lot of fear within a lot of the community members in the city of Chula Vista, because we do have a large population of immigrants that live here. Immigrants that are really working hard, and they're the basis of our economy. We depend on them for offering so many services to us, whether they be in the hotels and the restaurants, and whether it's taking care of our seniors, all of that. We're dependent on that lower income kind of class of immigrants, but we also have a very highly educated kind of immigrant that is moving to Chula Vista that's really transforming our city and really bringing in a whole bunch of intellectual capacity, a lot of great new ideas. I know a lot of these people are very interested in serving on our boards and commissions in Chula Vista. And so the fabric of our community is even growing richer because of the immigrant population, whether it be on the high-end immigrants that are coming here or the ones that, you know, the lower income, less educated population. By the way, that less populated population is very, very, very committed to the betterment of their children and their future, and they came here so that their children could have a better life, just like my family did almost 100 years ago. And you see the progression of immigrant families that they come here with nothing, and they better their lives of their children. They want to see their children educated, and they do become the future leaders. And so I hope that that answers the question in that, no, I don't like the discussion that's happening on the federal level. It's my hope that administrations will change and we'll go back to some reasonable, less insane kind of discussions, and that we will continue to foster those good relationships between us in the United States and Mexico, who we're codependents.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you see that like that chilling effect, that fear, which I do think is very palpable in some
It
corners?
is.
Do you see it playing out like in the schools or in the ability to work with law enforcement?
Absolutely, and you know, I've had a number of community forums. I'm bilingual, and so I can go into those communities. We have some great partners in Chula Vista, like South Bay Community Services, that has a leadership academy that is actually giving voice to this immigrant population. They come into my office all the time, and they feel free to complain about their potholes just like anybody else. And that's a real healthy thing. Mm-hmm. It's a real healthy thing for them to feel that they're welcome into City Hall, that they're part of our community, and that their welfare is our welfare. But there is a very chilling effect on people being willing to come forward and report crimes, because they hear all this thing, okay, if you report a crime, they're going to ask you for your papers, right? If you're a witness to crime, they may be reluctant to come forward because they're afraid of having to produce papers. But you know what? We have a lot of documented people, and we have a lot of people that are here that are not documented in Chula Vista. And the message that we try to give them as a city is that our police department is here to serve and protect all people who live in Chula Vista, and that we're only a safe community. Thank you. And that the public safety of all depends on people being able to come forward and talk about those problems and those crimes that may be occurring in our neighborhoods. And if they're not reported, then we can't solve those problems. So. You know, I'm really proud of our city, and I'm really proud of the actions that we've taken as a city.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, actually, I was just thinking some journalism around that topic would be, you know, how do we measure that with that lack of willingness to come forward, to participate with police? So that's something I'm going to keep my eye on. Serge, I imagine you've got opinions in this area?
Yeah, so, you know, I'm a first-generation American, and I just gave a talk at all the fifth graders at Emory Elementary School, where I actually was a second grader back in 1971, right at the edge of Imperial Beach in South San Diego. And, you know, the kids were really afraid of the whole concept of they were just kind of afraid. And one of the things I talked about was, regardless of what you hear, the concept of treating people with respect and kindness is really incumbent upon them to practice those behaviors. And having grown up in San Diego to see our change in the way that we work with our neighbors to the south, I'm really proud of San Diego. I'm really proud of my colleagues here who have taken that extra step to practice kindness and respect and to foster this idea that we, regardless of who you are, we have to work together. And, you know, Mayor Faulkner's, I'm not sure if he's here, but Paula's here from the Chamber of Commerce, our colleagues in Mexico. San Diego and Tijuana have been shining stars over the last year and a half to illustrate that is whatever happens somewhere else, we have an ethical and moral obligation to work with each other, to make sure that we shower each other with kindness, that we work to improve the quality of life of our residents. For me, that has played out in an amazing nonpartisan effort to get funding to improve the sewage system and deal with water pollution along the border. I'm also the chair of the SCEDC Borders Committee. I've been at the table in Mexico City with those words sort of ringing around people, and be able to see folks, Ron Roberts and the ex-director of SCEDC and folks from Mexico, consuls, sit down and solve problems and just get focused. And I think that focus, that mutual respect, but more importantly, the tremendous effort that people in this region, in this room, have showed to defy those, just to make sure that that doesn't impact us, is, I think, a lesson, and is a lesson for everyone, but more importantly, something that we should all be really proud of. And I'm going to say UT coverage on border stuff has significantly improved, and it's really helped us out as well.
Thank you. Thanks. Ron, you guys are also in the heart of this, and there's actually been some news in National City that I think has gone right to the point. What,
Right.
how is that playing out in your community? Obviously, a predominantly immigrant community, and also, you know, has the city taken a stand? Are there things that people are doing?
Okay. Yeah, you know, and there's always, I think, a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of people that get angst on all sides, especially when you get a very emotional issue along this line. And I know I took some hits from both sides here recently on the whole sanctuary city concept. And we decided not to label ourselves a sanctuary city, and the reason was very apparent. Cities have no ability to give sanctuary. So it was like false hope to people, and you go into the most vulnerable community and giving them a false hope or a false sense of security when they should, you want to be real. And so we have no opportunity to give sanctuary. We can do other things. And so what we did was we became, and so we labeled ourselves because we wanted to define ourselves, not someone else define us. And so we put ourselves as a compassionate city and listed out what we can as a city do and what we can help on. There was a lot of groups who were saying, hey, you know, you need to have this policy, you need to have this policy. And then we had to show them, we've had those policies on our books for over 10 years. You know, you need to go talk to some other community. We've already been instigating all of this stuff. Ours is a very ethnically diverse community. Well, kind of, I should say that, because it's the population is 63% Hispanic, 20% Filipino American, 10% African American, and I'm kind of what's left, so I don't know how to go that. So anyway, but you know, the situation is how do we as a city, how do we do everything that we can to ease the fears of our population, to do what we can, and make sure that we are not part of the problem. And at the same time, what we did, we also had some meetings, public meetings with the head of Border Patrol. We had them there in conjunction with the Border Angels and La Prensa. Sorry, UT wasn't on that one. We'll reach you next time. But you know, and to deal with these issues, and we got some guarantees from the Border Patrol on what they would do and would not do, and what they was legal on their part, and so the community could understand that. We also had some public meetings with put together with the Mexican consulate and the Philippine consulate to once again, and also our district attorney's office, to let people know what their rights are, because that's one of the big things. People need to know what their rights are, and not all the rumors and all the other things. But then, when you get right down to it, our population, we do have a lot of people that may not be documented, a lot of people that documented, but their status is in question right now, even with documentation. And we need to find ways to give them certainty. And a lot of that are federal issues, but on a local level, we can be putting pressure on our federal authorities for a couple of areas. One thing, there needs to be comprehensive immigration reform that is not being addressed by the U.S. Congress. And that needs to be addressed. The DACA situation needs to be addressed. There needs to be some positive clarity for people on all these areas. But from a local level, we can't make that decision. But we can be putting pressure on our federal authorities to say this needs to happen. At the same time, and I'll agree with Serge, I'm very proud of how our region has pulled together and tried to work on these binational issues, everything else, realizing we are a mega region. There is a line on a map that if you look at an aerial, it's hard to tell which part is Mexico and which part is the U.S. They're all right up against each other. And we've got millions of people on each side, and we are a mega region. If we take those little lines off, we can do even more fantastic things. I know this week I was meeting with the mayor of Rosarito, and we were signing friendship agreements and working on how our cities can work together. We need to be doing as much communication together, because what we need to be doing is building relationships, not walls. And the sooner we get around to dealing with that and building those relationships with one another and realizing that we're not problems, we're humans. And we've got a long ways to go, but we in this region, I think, have got a lot to be proud of, but we need to bring, I think, some of the federal people in this area and say, look what is actually going on. You're looking at this from a telescope from 3,000 miles away, and you need to have your lens clean because you're not seeing it very clearly, you know. But as I say, we are the ones, people in this room, we are the ones that are the eyes and the ears in this region, and we need to have a strong voice to allow the federal government to know, and the people that are sitting 3,000 miles away, what is going on here, what are the problems, and what needs to be addressed.
Thanks, Ron. Okay, Yvette, I want to hear how this all looks from Tijuana, where there's a lot going on commercially, a lot of sort of a little boom that's been going on in housing and construction. Also some headwinds in some different ways, but let's just start with this whole the whole footing. How are people feeling about this, and what effect does it have on, on business?
Well, I am a romantic, so I see this as Romeo and Juliet. They try to put a border between us, but the love is still there because, yeah, the love is still there. And I think the feeling of the whole community, and the business community, the social community, the feeling is that as a region, we've grown through so much. We've been through so much, walls, taxes. You have your central government 3,000 miles away. We have it 2,000 miles away. So we're really the same. And we've learned to work with our differences, with our problems, and we are the best example for a community who's fighting for a mega region. We see ourselves as a whole big city. We have a lot of Americans living in our coast side. We have about 1,500 people. Yeah, 1,500 people living on the coastline. And in the development side of the real estate, Tijuana is really growing in the past 5 years, because in 2012 we had a lot of demand in the real estate in the middle and high affordable housing. So we didn't have any I forgot the word. Demand is the oferta. We didn't have any offer in the housing, in this kind of housing, in the real center of the city, in the gold part of the city, we can say. So vertically, we have to grow. So we have had the last 5 years, 35% of the real estate has grown in the city of Tijuana. So I think everybody sees Tijuana as a great region, as a great city to invest. We have the second highest income per capita in Mexico City, in all of Mexico.
Wow.
So that makes us a really nice city to work, to live. And we always say the best part of Tijuana is San Diego. That's a saying about Mexicans. That's not a secret. That is not a secret. So, but I think the feeling is the same. We have to grow with each other. I think humanity on both sides is stronger than any wall or any border. So in Tijuana, the feeling is that we can work together. I think we have grown as a city. Now we not only have the manufacture industry, we have the gastronomic industry, the craft beer industry, the medical tourism industry that has grown 200% the past few years. So I think there, as we say in Mexico, there is no bad thing that can happen that isn't for a good reason. So I think all these changes and all the barriers that are coming or that we see that could be in our way as a region maybe are going to make us stronger as a community and say, you know, we can do that. We can work with this. We can fight together to get bigger as a city, as a region, and I don't know. Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
fantastic. And we'll come back so you can talk about some of those things. Yeah, medical tourism is very eye-opening. There's a lot going on. So just to sort of turning the page a little bit, Dookie, there's the port is a tremendous lot going on. I think since I was here last, you've unveiled some pretty amazing plans, and then also found a contractor for the bayfront in Chula Vista. So these are big, significant projects. Give us a little update.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a lot of exciting big projects going on. Let's talk a little bit about Chula Vista. We are at a point right now, and we're only at this point because we have a great working relationship with the city of Chula Vista. A project that's going to encompass about $1 billion project, we cannot do that by ourselves. So what we've done is we partnered with our partner, which is the city of Chula Vista. They are donating, they're not donating, every dollar that generated from the taxes from that is going right back into the project. They're not going to make any money. We are putting every penny that we make off this project back into it. That's the only way you can get projects like of this magnitude is by having good working partners. So we're very happy about that. You know, in the Chula Vista, we have 535 acres. Over half of that land is going to be utilized for open space. When we first started this project, and this has been in the works for probably about 30 years, I became a commissioner 13 years ago, and they used to have meetings in Chula Vista where they would community meetings and get everybody's input. You had developers on one side, community people on the other, environmentalists on this other side. Everybody had their own idea of what it should be. And I'm telling you, it was surprisingly that a fight never broke out in them meetings because it was that contentious. Everybody had their own viewpoint. But we realized that in order to get something, everybody had to give up something, and there was a compromise made. So that's why you have over 50% of the land is going to be open for public space. We've got the Chula Vista Hotel. We have Gaylord. We've just signed a ENA. And so what we're doing is we're negotiating with them within the next year. We hope to them to come back and we'll have a specific timeline as far as what is going to take place. I mean, because in the South Bay, when I graduated from high school, and that's for any high school in the South Bay, when we had to go to the Sweethearts Ball or the prom, we had to go to somewhere in downtown San Diego. There was never ever a facility in the South Bay that our kids could utilize. That is going to change. We're going to have that big, beautiful facility in the South Bay, and it's well-deserved, and the time has come. So big things are going to happen in Chula Vista, and we're very excited about it.
Yeah, great. And you know what? Tell me also about the Seaport Village project, which is not really a South County project, but I mean, this is like a big deal, sort of the gateway to
Seaport
South
Village,
County.
you know, it's been there for 50 years. It's a beautiful facility. You know, when you go down there, it's got this quaint charm right on the waterfront. We've had experts come in and say this is the number one piece of real estate that the port owns. It's right on the corner overlooking, you can see the Coronado Bridge, Coronado, you've got the waterfront right there. And the people that had the lease on it, their lease was up, and we asked them, everybody that we have a contract with, we give them an opportunity to redevelop that. And when they came back in and they said, well, here's what we want to do, we looked at it and we said, no. And so what we did is we went out and put it out to a request for proposal, got the greatest developers in the world to come in and tell us what they envision could potentially happen. And we were able to select a local San Diego developer to come in with a winning proposal. We're going to potentially look at having a 480-foot spire, which will have a restaurant, observation tower. We will be able to have hotels. We'll be able to have a butterfly exhibit. Right now, when you go to Seaport Village, you can look at the water. They're proposing to be able to have beach access. So there's a lot of great things that's going to happen. You know, there's some controversy with it because it's going to take away the beautiful atmosphere that's there. But I believe we're still going to be able to maintain that moving forward. So it's a dynamic project. It's a $1 billion project. Chula Vista is a $1 billion project.
Yeah.
We got some big stuff on the books.
Yeah, Mayor, why don't you jump in?
So, Jeff, first of all, I want to reiterate that we have had such a great working relationship with the Port of San Diego, and we couldn't get done what we're doing on the Bayfront without the cooperation of the majority of the council, or the port commissioners, because it takes the vote of the Port Commission to help us structure this deal. But I also want to clarify and maybe put to rest some of my residents that live in Chula Vista. You know, the city of Chula Vista is putting a lot of skin in the game. We're putting more skin in the game that has ever been put into any kind of port project in terms of the city conceding some of our revenues. But we are going to be making money on the project. We're just not going to be making money for 7 years. So we expect that we'll start getting, you know, a payback within 7 years. So I just want to assure people out there, we're not giving away the store. We're giving up maybe a steak and a loaf of bread.
And the port's doing the same thing. We're not getting any revenues initially. It's initially all going in for the infrastructure. We will eventually make money off of the thing, but the main thing is I'm not overly concerned about the money side of it because we will make money, but it's the amenities that we're going to be able to provide the South Bay. Because what's going to happen in Chula Vista is only enhances what's going to happen in National City and Imperial Beach and the whole South Bay. It's just like when you build Petco Park, everything around it just got better, and that's what that project's going to do. It's just going to be the best thing that's ever happened to the South Bay.
Yeah, so what Dookie is saying is this is really going to be a catalyst for the development of the rest of the Bayfront. So, you know, we envision that our prosperity will be when the other projects get built out and the revenue that's coming in from them as well, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a great deal. I mean, we really have to put in this investment to make it happen.
Great. Serge, you also have a little renaissance going on in IB. I mean, I think that area down around the pier is, well, tell me a little bit about your vision and how that's.
Well, yeah, so, you know, besides being the coolest little beach town on the planet, you know, where the mayor gets to have a micro surf session, you know, before lunch yesterday. You know, I was going to brag about the $100 million in investment that we've helped, you know, and my predecessors have helped secure with existing and proposed development 3 hotels in addition to Pier South, the Brigantine, Coronado Brewery, some of the best. Sudbury Development just opened their brand new shopping center. Mark Aronson from Grocery Outlet. Mark, are you here? Mark was here from Grocery Outlet. The best opening of any grocery outlet in their history. I think, was it Grocery Outlet in National City, Ron? I'm not sure, but we're doing really well. Starbucks, all those Jersey Mikes, just making some serious money, providing opportunities for our residents. So $100 million compared to $1 billion, but you're right. Thanks, Dookie and Mary and Ron, and we all know that Bayfront development in Chula Vista linked with improving the Bayfront in South San Diego and a significant redirection of our efforts, not just along the beachfront, but along our Bayfront, are really going to improve the quality of life of Imperial Beach. And so, you know, the 3 pillars of sort of our investment and development strategy is improving neighborhoods. So we're doing this, just like Mary and Ron, we do this development to make sure that every resident, whether or not they're single mom with 3 kids or a military family or a surfer family with 2 or 3 kids that surf, they have the best possible quality of life. And that means paving alleys, painting crosswalks, putting in sidewalks, and having an affordable and first-class grocery store. As someone who grew up immigrant family on the east side of town, I'm proud that we've invested most of our resources right now in the neighborhoods that historically were ignored. And that's our commitment as a city. The most important thing we're doing, though, is we've given notice to slumlords and absentee landlords that if they do not take care of their properties, we're going to rip down the chain link fences. We've already bought 2 boarded up slums, and we're ripping them down. 1 will be turned into affordable housing. And so they're on notice that our code enforcement doesn't target our low-income residents. It targets absentee landlords and the slumlords who've decided to make a profit in our town, but fill our town with garbage-filled empty lots. And that's something I'm really proud of. Our entire city council, our residents, and our city staff embrace that. But we're doing things we've eliminated fees for our residents to improve their homes, so our low-income residents and middle-class residents can put a roof on their home or replace windows. We don't charge them a fee. We're eliminating the permit requirements for all kinds of things. We just launched the first dockless bike sharing program in Southern California just this week or last week. So I'm really proud of the fact that we're trying to eliminate the Politburo-style barriers that prohibit low-income residents and a lot of immigrant entrepreneurs in cities from moving forward. And I think that's something I know I share with the Port, with National City and Chula Vista, is really making sure that our region serves our residents first and foremost, and make sure that you all come down to see all the great changes. And I'm going to leave you this vision. I can't wait till we have the grooviest beach bus leave Chula Vista, right, at that hotel with surf racks and a place, and those folks in that hotel and kids from Chula Vista and National City can jump on a free bus and use the beach in ID. That's the sort of vision. I know I can't. I'm really stoked that we're all working together to accomplish that.
Fantastic. So Ron, I know you too are focused on upgrading the infrastructure and getting beach access to the things that you've talked about in the past. Where are we on that?
Well, first of all, let me say, you have to be a beach town to have a groovy bus. That's one thing right there. Yeah, our path has been quite different, and as you know me, and I've spoke up here before on many occasions, and so I like to say both sides of the coin. Our relationship with the Port has been quite different in the past. We did not have a great relationship with the Port, and that has changed in recent years. But we went through a lot of battles. There's 5 cities that make up the Port, and we were the only city out of the 5 that does not have bayfront or oceanfront access. All of ours was all behind chain link fences and barbed wire. And so also, while the other cities had parks and putting in hotels and putting in all these public facilities, we were importing cars, which was a huge amount of income for the Port, and then it was spent to put in the hotels and the beaches and the parks in the other cities. So this has been a battle for decades, and that is just now turning around. And so now we're looking at doing some development on the uplands area. Once again, not on the bayfront, but in the uplands area. And this has been taking a good number of years, a lot of battles, and not the current port commissioners, but there's some past port commissions that when I went before them, I got called a lot of names for even asking that National City get a piece of the pie also. Current Port Commission is working with us very well, and so is the staff, and trying to move this ahead. And so now we have areas where we are going out for EIR, CEQA documents, everything else. We've got hotels that are coming to us one after another saying, hey, we want to go into these areas. And so we got to go through all this bureaucratic material to get us to that point so that we can also be part of this whole generation of the port. And so those areas, and it also give a lot of public access also, where we've had very limited public access. Just to let you know, last year they imported through National City 420,000 cars. And so now they're looking with these CEQA documents and everything else to be able to go up to 800,000 cars. Just to let you know also, you think, well, that's good revenue for the city. Guess what? We don't get 1 penny off that. All we get is the extra traffic and all the pollution. So that was where we were saying, okay, it's time to also do something so the people in National City, and I'm proud to say that the port is now working very well with the city, that we can make those things happen. But at the same time, a lot of things are going on in the city as we're seeing a huge renovation. We're getting a lot of large businesses come in. Amazon is getting ready to open up. So they're hopefully within the next few weeks, they are going to be open. So that now when you order from Amazon, you'll be able to have not delivery in 2 or 3 days. You'll be able to have it in less than 2 hours. And because their convenience center will be they're right there in National City, moving out. And same way, you take a look at, and I see Tony McEwen sitting here, and I can't ignore him because of those socks he's wearing. But it's but you have the mile of cars, and I can't say anything great. Not only are they this longest institution as far as the car park in the United States, but even beyond that point, when we went into the recession, car parks were hit tremendously hard, as we know. I'm proud to say the mile of cars, what did they do during that time? That's the time where you normally hunker down and say, well, we don't want to spend any money, we don't want to do anything, because it's bad times. proud to say our model cars, they went through major renovation, built new buildings, did everything else. They're there for the long haul and have done a phenomenal job. And we got businesses one after another moving into National City, everything from the small restaurants right on up. And the ones that are coming in, how many have been to the In-N-Out Burger at 24th Street? Anyone have been to that thing? Yes. We have a real problem, a traffic problem, because it backs onto the freeway and people can't get off the freeway because it's trying to get in there. The #1 In-N-Out Burger in the United States. So we just opened up Dunkin' Donuts. Guess what happened to it? It broke all the sales records for Dunkin' Donuts for their entire history worldwide. So people are finding out this, is a place where you got a lot of people coming together, great things happening, because we have a population of 60,000, somewhat similar to Poway. But the difference is daytime population in Poway goes down to about 20,000. National City, we have a population of 60,000 census. Our daytime population hovers between 120 and 150,000. So a lot of resources have to go into that. We're having a lot of traffic problems. We're making huge improvements into our infrastructure, and that's causing some consternation because, of course, it's inconvenient during all the construction. But we've been doing just one thing after another, getting huge grants to be able to do all this stuff. And so you got a city that's the densest city in the county, one of the oldest cities in the county, all of these different things, very narrow streets. And what we just did, we just put in of urban bikeways, not ones that are passed out along a river or something out in the middle of nowhere, but in the middle of these very narrow streets. We just put in 5 miles of urban bikeways in the city. We also just got the awards for being the most bikeable city and also the most walkable city in the county. So we've turning that thing all around. And at the same time, in our downtown area, the old used to be National Avenue, National City Boulevard. When I grew up as a kid, that was a downtown. That's where everyone, South County, went to shop. And then with all the things that moved out, we have done a downtown specific plan that allows right now on that street, from Division to 16th Street, they can put by right 4,000 housing units on that street. And they do a traffic circulation study, and whatever the mitigation is, whether if it's 0 or whatever it is, they can by right go to 10,000 housing units. Why? Because that's the right place to put it. Cities, the only way that we're going to bring housing pricing down, rent prices down, is that we've got to build more housing. We've got to build it in the right places for the right people. And if we don't wake up to that, and so that's one of the things as National City, we can't take care of the entire county, but we can do our part. So we took that to the people in National City, and you can imagine in some communities, if you ask your community to take on that kind of density, the complaints you would get. We got 0 complaints. The biggest thing was how soon can it be built, because we also showed the amenities that would go along with it. This is what we have to do. In the same way, we have to take a look at, we don't have the Navy up here. The Navy is another thing. We hear the Navy is shrinking and the Armed Forces is shrinking in a lot of parts of the United States, not in San Diego. And in the area down in National City, which is a large part of Naval Base San Diego, the Navy is going to be increasing over the next 7 years. They're estimated to increase the number of vessels by 40%. And these are not going to be transferred from somewhere else. These are all the new, the high-tech, the Star Wars stuff that's coming in. And the problem is that's going to be bringing in tens of thousands of highly trained, high-technician Navy personnel, and we are not prepared as a region to house them. And we can't wait till the ship comes in to start preparing. These are the kinds of things that we are going to need to be looking at, not tomorrow. We need to be looking at them yesterday to be prepared for.
Yeah.
But we've got excellent opportunities for growth.
Yeah, super interesting. So with that, let me give you a chance to talk about the economic development agenda south of the border. Obviously, a lot going on in Tijuana. You see those big towers going up. Tell us how it looks from your side.
Well, we can house all that people that are coming in.
Yeah, I
Run.
was thinking that.
As soon as we get the border rebuilt.
You know, we are really competitive in our pricing. We have 398 developments right now. From those 393, 197 are housing condominiums, and they range from 120 to 180. So we really have a good price. We're really competitive, and I think on the region that makes us really strong for the housing opportunities we have. And on the government side, what we're doing, we are putting almost all of our budget, not all, because the first thing we want to do is we have to focus on public safety. So the other part of our budget is going on infrastructure because of all the vertical condominiums we're having in the city. We have to make more infrastructure, and one of the main things I want to focus in my commission, which is tourism, commerce, and sister cities, is on the coast side, because I get really, I forgot the word, Hector, envidiosa? Jealous. I get jealous because I tell my mayor, you see, they're having a waterfront. You see, they're rebuilding Balboa Park. You see, they have a lot of projects, but you have more money than we have. But my job is to dream, because I do dream, and I want a port, and I want a bayfront, because we have a bayfront, but it's not as nice as yours. So, yes, but we want it on the
Yeah, the
Mexican
playas
side.
have a lot of potential.
Yeah, we have a bayside, but you know, it's sad that we don't dream. You know, there is a plan that was made 30 years ago. I'm retaking that plan, and it was to have an embarcadero or a small port where we could do like we used to do 50 years ago when we weren't even born, and you weren't even born, that San Diego had some touristic yachts go to the archipelago of the Coronado Islands. We used to do that. I don't know what happened. So we're retaking that. But in infrastructure, we are doing a lot on the side of the Otay 2 border, because we have a lot of work, because on our side, it's already been taken by the growth of the city. And our city doesn't have any more territory, so we have to go up. And the truth is that it is, for investors, it is one of the safest city to invest money in real estate. So if you guys want to invest, you know where to go. Go Baja and go TJ. And the governments, what we have done the past 6 years in the government, and now that we're in it, we're trying to make public policies to make all the permits to be more, to go faster, because it takes about 2 years to get all your business plan in construction to have it made. So we're working on getting better on doing business on the city side, and the city is. I'm just going to go to your city, Ron, because we're trying to make a big effort. We, as you know, or some may not know, last year we had our city transit. We called it SIT. Sistema Integral de Transporte, no? Which takes you from downtown to almost all the end of the city in just one trip, and you pay 750 pesos. So it's really cheap. You have Wi-Fi. You can take your pets. It's for disabled people too. So we're trying to do our best to be as equals and to have a good quality of life for our citizens.
Okay, fantastic. So I think that we have about 10 minutes left for questions from the audience. And here's a microphone that will come around, and how about right here in the front row?
Well, thank you. And Mayor Morrison, if you really like my socks, I'll send you a pair.
Please, please.
No, I've been in National City doing business for 50 years, okay? And I wish you would mention since housing is such a problem, and low-cost housing and homeless and so forth, there's a tremendous project that is halfway completed in National City that is really, really great. I was wondering if you could explain a little bit about that and how long it took to put that together.
Okay, yeah, that was, is referred to as the YTOD project. It's the West Side Transit-Oriented Development. It's right next to the, what we refer to as the 24th Street trolley. It's actually on 22nd Street, but, so it's right next to the trolley station. It was a public works yard and a dumping ground and all kinds of other stuff. So what we've done with that area, we have now moved our public works out of that, and we've kind of moved that through the city. and taken that area, and we were able to get some federal grants. In fact, there was there was a state grant and federal grant. The federal grant, they only gave out 3 in the entire country, and so we got one of those. State grant, we received it. We didn't know we received it because for some reason they put us down as Los Angeles County. But then we realized we had it and we had to move quickly on it. So we come down and so we've already opened up 100 units that are right next to the trolley. We got another 100 units being built. We're putting in a park with it, everything else along. This is affordable housing. We have the largest concentration of affordable housing in the county, and we're still building more, but then we're also having to balance that out then with market rate housing, because we have a lack of market rate housing, and we have a very large number of quote-unquote affordable housing. So we're kind of on the exact opposite of the scale from many of the other communities in the county, and so it's a balancing situation. But this has given people, and I'm fortunate to say, because you're using state and federal money, you cannot give you cannot say it can only be national city families. It could be someone from Redding, California, as far as that's concerned, that can apply for these, and you have to give them equal consideration. But by putting in a number of incentives, I'm fortunate to say that basically we did, on the first 100 units, we were able to do 100% national city occupancy, and which was greatly needed, and giving these families some phenomenal units, phenomenal opportunities. And the whole idea is that these are not to be for one generation after another to live there, but that the idea, these are be incubators, so that you also have job training, you also have language training, you have all these other things, so that you're giving people a hand up. And so you're moving on, so then you can move them in a first-time home buyer program, and then you've got units now available for another family. And
Great.
so we're continuing to work on those.
That's terrific. Okay, I think we have a question in the back.
Yes. So in particular, this is for the mayors. You all talked about and bragged about all the activity you're having with large national brands and those coming into your cities. What are you doing to help some of the small businesses that are homegrown, the residents of National City, Chula Vista, Imperial Beach, and helping them grow and thrive?
Yeah, sure. Sure. While we talk about all the large businesses, really the number one growth is in small businesses. They, if you're talking about economic development. And so in supporting the new businesses, one of the things that we did in the city of Chula Vista is that we understood that if we didn't have an economic development team, which we cut way back in the recession, is that we couldn't move forward with helping businesses. So we committed 2 years ago to hire a economic development manager, who's Eric Crockett, who is in here. He's doing a phenomenal job. But one of the things that we're helping our businesses with is in the area of energy efficiency. And so we provide guidance to the businesses and show them how they can save money through converting into renewable sources of energy and other efficiencies, and that's really working out well for our small businesses. We had a study that was out on the number of dollars that were spent or that were saved by small businesses in being able to implement these city-sponsored programs. We also have done a lot with the 3rd Avenue, and if you go down to 3rd Avenue in Chula Vista, now you'll see that it's a hub of small businesses that are opening there. It's not chain restaurants, it's not chain businesses that are going there, but it's mom and pops that are opening their small restaurants that are really thriving down there. It's just a real cool scene there now. And so I think that we have to do those kinds of things because, when you do bring in those individually owned businesses, that's what creates a character in your neighborhood. If it's all nothing but chain, then every single city looks the same, right? And so we really believe in helping our small businesses, understanding that they're a great source of economic development and job growth.
Great. Serge, you wanted to
Yeah, this is something we've been really passionate about in Imperial Beach. Mark West, my colleague on the city council, I'm not sure if he's around, but anyway, we've been really trying to work on this. And one of the coolest projects we did is a couple years ago, we had our $35 million brand new hotel on the beach, and in front of it, across the street, was an empty lot filled with garbage and an ugly chain link fence. We tore down the chain link fence, we cleaned out the lot. Thanks to SDG&E and the San Diego Foundation, we got grants to invest in turning that into an art park. And then what we did is we found a group of entrepreneurs who started a workout company, an exercise company, and they put their mobile workout trailer there, and they started doing business in that lot. And so those guys now partnered with a hotel, so they're working in the hotel across the street. Not too long ago, I was on the north side of town, and my buddy Panama, who's actually from Panama and is a barber, had his mobile barber RV. Actually, it was a SWAT team vehicle. He rehabbed. Super cool guy. He just gotten kicked out of PB. I'm like, hey, we got an empty lot. Let's figure out if we can get you on the beach in the empty lot and get to work. And so whether it's a cottage industry or somebody running a massage business out of their home, we can't have cities look like the DMV or the Politburo as well. I think all of my colleagues here know that cities just create all these walls, all these regulations and rules that basically are sort of reflection of the 1950s and not really the 21st century. So that's what we're doing in IB, is eliminating those barriers and the bureaucracy and making our city become a hub for innovation and getting things done quickly so we can compete with the private sector and provide opportunities for a lot of those new business owners and entrepreneurs, and especially immigrants, so they don't have to be rich to start a business and pursue the American dream.
Okay, well said. And with that, I believe the sign says 0 minutes. So thank you all for coming, and thank you, panelists. Really informative, and it sounds like some amazing stuff's going on. And I think I will turn it over to somebody who's going to tell us where we go next. So thank you so much, everybody.
Just want to say thank you to the elected panels and all our officials. So thank you very much, Mary, Serge, Dookie, Senorita, and Ron. Thank you. And we are going out to lunch and down the hall. Okay?